The hospital hallway smelled like bleach and dying flowers, and I was so tired I could barely remember what day it was anymore. My name is Emily, and for the past 6 weeks, this place had been my second home. I worked part-time as a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm, nothing glamorous, just enough to pay rent on my tiny apartment and keep food in the fridge. My life was simple, quiet, the kind of existence my sister Madison loved to mock during her rare phone calls. But none of that mattered anymore because Dad was dying, and I was the only one here to watch it happen. "Emmy!" Dad's voice was barely a whisper from the bed. His hand, paper-thin and spotted with bruises from the IVs, reached for mine.
"I'm here, Dad."
I squeezed gently, afraid I might hurt him. Cancer had stolen everything from this man who used to lift me onto his shoulders like I weighed nothing. Now he was just skin and bones and labored breathing. "Madison coming today?" he asked, like he did every single day. My throat tightened. "Maybe tomorrow, Dad. She's really busy with work." He nodded, accepting the lie we both knew I was telling. Madison hadn't visited once. Not once in 6 weeks. My successful, beautiful, perfect sister with her marketing executive job and her downtown condo couldn't spare a single day to say goodbye to the man who raised us alone after Mom left. That was 3 days ago. Dad died on a Tuesday morning while I was holding his hand and Madison was posting Instagram stories from some corporate brunch. Now I sat in Mr. Hendrick's law office, still wearing the same black dress from the funeral, watching my sister check her phone while our father's estate was divided up like he was nothing more than a math problem to solve. Madison looked perfect, as always. Red lipstick, designer handbag, her dark hair styled in those loose waves that probably cost $200 at her salon. She'd cried beautifully at the funeral, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief while everyone hugged her and told her how strong she was. I'd wanted to scream. Instead, I'd stood there in my $30 dress from Target and said nothing, like I always did. As I was saying, Mr. Hendricks cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the tension in the room. "Your father made very specific arrangements." The lawyer's pen scratched against paper, that horrible sound like nails on concrete. My hands were shaking. I'd known somehow that this wouldn't go well. Dad had always favored Madison, even if he never said it out loud. She was the successful one, the one who made him proud, even if she never had time to actually be his daughter. "The primary estate," Mr. Hendricks slid papers across his massive desk, "including all cash assets totaling $103,000, goes to Madison Grace." The words hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't breathe. The office suddenly felt too small, too hot, the smell of old books and furniture polish choking me. Madison smiled. She actually smiled as she reached for the papers. "Wait," I heard myself say, my voice small and broken. "That's everything. That's all of it. There's more, Emily." Mr. Hendricks wouldn't meet my eyes, and that's when I knew it was going to be bad. "Your father left you the property on Oakwood Lane, the storage shed and the surrounding land." Silence. Then Madison's laughter, sharp and cruel, filling the room. "The shed," I whispered. "The old storage shed?" "It's on separate property, deeded independently," Mr. Hendricks explained, pushing more papers toward me. "About a quarter-acre, including the structure." Madison stood up, gathering her inheritance like she'd won the lottery. "That's perfect, Emmy. You always were more sentimental anyway. You can keep all Dad's old junk and feel close to him or whatever." Her heels clicked toward the door, each step hammering into my skull. "You never came." The words came out quiet, but they stopped her. "What?" "You never came to see him. 6 weeks. Madison. He asked for you every single day." She turned, and her face transformed from fake sympathy to something cold and hard. "I was busy, Emily. I have a career. A life. I couldn't just drop everything to watch him die." "He was our father." "And he clearly knew who deserved what." She tapped the papers in her hand. I'm successful. I made something of myself. You're a part-time bookkeeper living in a rental. Dad was practical.
He knew I'd actually use the money properly.
Something shattered inside my chest.
Get out.
Excuse me.
Get out.
I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Take your money and get out. Madison's eyes widened, just for a second. She'd never seen me angry before. None of them had. Sweet, quiet Emily who never caused problems, who always accepted whatever scraps she was given.
Ladies, Mr. Hendricks started, but Madison was already at the door. Enjoy your shed, little sister, she said, and then she was gone.
I sat back down, my legs shaking too hard to stand. The papers blurred in front of me.
20 years of being the good daughter, the one who stayed close, who called every week, who held his hand while he died, and I got a rotting storage shed worth maybe a few $1,000s if I was lucky.
I'm sorry, Emily, Mr. Hendricks said quietly. I did ask your father if he was certain about this division. He just smiled and said you'd understand eventually. Those were his exact words. You'd understand. I signed the papers without reading them, took the keys, and left. For 3 days, I stayed in my apartment and cried. I called in sick to work. I ignored Madison's Instagram posts about her grief and her inheritance planning consultations. I stared at the brass keys with Dad's shaky handwriting on the tag that read Oakwood and wondered what I was supposed to understand. That I'd wasted my life caring about people who didn't care back? That love meant nothing compared to success and money? That I was the fool for showing up, for being there, for believing family meant something? On the 4th day, I drove to Oakwood Lane. The shed sat behind an overgrown hedge, separated from what used to be Dad's backyard before he sold the main house last year to pay for treatments that didn't work. Gray wood, peeling paint, a rusted padlock that looked ready to crumble. I stood in the August heat, sweat collecting under my arms, staring at my inheritance. My quarter-acre of disappointment. The key stuck in the lock. Of course it does, I muttered, jiggling it hard. Why would anything be easy? I was about to give up, about to just sell this worthless property and try to forget any of this ever happened, when I heard it. A voice. Low and male, coming from behind the shed. My heart stopped. Someone was back there. Before I go further, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I like to know how far my stories are reaching, and a like and subscribe means a lot to small channels like ours and will keep these stories coming. Now let's continue. I froze, my hands still on the rusty padlock, every muscle in my body screaming at me to run. The voice came again, clearer this time. Yeah, I got it. Should be another week, maybe 2. Someone was talking on a phone. Behind my shed. On my property. Fear turned to anger fast. I'd had enough. Enough of being pushed around. Enough of being the quiet one who took whatever life threw at her. I let go of the lock and walked around the side of the shed, my sneakers crunching on gravel and dead leaves. Hey! I shouted, rounding the corner. This is private property. The man spun around, phone pressed to his ear. He was older, maybe 60, wearing dirty jeans and a flannel shirt despite the heat. His face went pale when he saw me. I'll call you back, he said into the phone and hung up fast. Too fast.
Who are you?
I demanded, my voice shaking but loud. What are you doing here? He raised his hands like I was pointing a gun at him instead of just standing there in my wrinkled t-shirt and jeans. You must be Emily. That stopped me cold. How do you know my name? Your dad, Frank.
He told me you'd be coming eventually.
The man lowered his hands slowly. I'm Dennis Morrison.
I've been working on the project.
What project? I looked around, but all I saw was overgrown grass, the back of the shed, and the woods beyond.
There's nothing here.
Dennis smiled, and something about it made my skin prickle. It was the kind of smile someone gives when they know something you don't. There's a lot here, Miss Emily. Your dad's been working on it for almost 2 years. He made me promise not to tell anyone, especially not your sister. My heart started beating faster. What are you talking about? Come on. I'll show you. He started walking toward the woods. I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't even know who you are. He stopped and turned back. Fair enough. Your dad said you were smart. He also said to tell you something if you didn't trust me. Said to tell you about the purple elephant. The world tilted. The purple elephant. When I was 7, I'd saved up my allowance for months to buy this ugly purple stuffed elephant at a yard sale. Madison had laughed at me, called it stupid, said only babies played with stuffed animals. That night, Dad had found me crying in my room. He'd sat on my bed and told me that the purple elephant was perfect because I'd chosen it myself, and that was worth more than 1,000 fancy toys someone else picked out. I'd never told anyone that story. Not a single person except Dad knew about it. Okay, I whispered. Show me. Dennis led me into the woods. It wasn't far, maybe 50 yards, following a narrow path that looked recently cleared. The trees opened up into a small clearing, and that's when I saw it. A house. Not a shed. Not some run-down shack. A small, beautiful cottage with fresh paint, solar panels on the roof, and a wraparound porch. It looked like something from a magazine, hidden here in the woods where no one would ever see it from the road. What? I couldn't form words. How? Your dad bought this land 5 years ago. Kept it separate from everything else. Started building 3 years ago, worked on it whenever he had money and strength. Dennis walked up the porch steps and pulled out a key. He wanted it perfect. Said it was for his girl. The one who deserved something real. Tears were streaming down my face before I could stop them. He built this while he was sick. Right up until about 8 weeks ago. That's when I took over, finishing the details he couldn't manage anymore. He paid me in advance for everything, made me swear I wouldn't tell a soul until after he was gone and you came looking. Dennis unlocked the door. He said Madison would try to take it if she knew. Said this was for you and only you. I walked inside and my knees almost gave out. It was furnished. Completely furnished. A cozy living room with a fireplace, a kitchen with new appliances, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom with a clawfoot tub. Everything clean and ready, like I could move in tomorrow. Today. Right now. On the kitchen counter sat an envelope with my name on it in Dad's handwriting. My hands shook as I picked it up and tore it open. Dear Emmy, I read aloud, my voice breaking. If you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you probably think I'm the worst father in the world. Madison got the money because money is all she understands. But you, my sweet girl, you understand what matters. You showed up. You held my hand. You loved me when I had nothing left to give. This house is yours. It's paid for, taxes covered for 10 years from a separate account Madison doesn't know about. The shed out front is registered to the property to keep this place hidden from county records unless someone digs deep. Live here. Be happy. You earned this, not because you're my daughter, but because you're the kind of person who knows that love matters more than money. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. I needed you to think you'd lost, so Madison wouldn't suspect. Forgive me. I love you. Always. Dad. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The letter fell from my hands. There's more, Dennis said quietly. Come outside. The back. I followed him in a daze, through the house and out the back door. The backyard stretched out into a cleared field, maybe 2 acres, and at the far end sat a building. Bigger than the house. Metal and modern. What is that? Workshop, Dennis said. Your dad's final project. He set it up as a business for you. Everything you need to start a bookkeeping firm of your own. Proper office, equipment, the works. He knew you were working part-time for someone else, barely getting by. He wanted you to have your own thing. I walked toward the workshop like I was in a dream. Inside, it was perfect. Desks, computers, filing systems, everything organized and ready. On the main desk sat another envelope. This one contained business registration papers. Emily's Accounting Services, LLC. Already filed. Already official. And a bank statement showing an operating account with $15,000 in it. He did this, I whispered. He did all of this. For 2 years, Dennis confirmed. Every spare penny, every ounce of strength he had left. He wanted you set up. Really set up. Not just money that could disappear, but a home and a business and a future. I thought about Madison in her condo with her $100,000. Money she'd spend on vacations and clothes and things that wouldn't matter in a year. And here I was, standing in a paid-off house with a business ready to launch, hidden behind a storage shed that everyone thought was worthless. Dad hadn't abandoned me. He'd saved me. I walked back to the house, sat on the porch steps, and finally let myself cry. But this time, they weren't tears of grief or betrayal. They were something else. Relief. Gratitude. Love for a father who'd understood me better than I'd understood myself. Dennis sat down next to me. He also asked me to tell you something else when you found all this. What? He said, now Emily knows what she's worth. And Madison's about to find out what she isn't. I looked up at him. What does that mean? Dennis pulled out his phone and showed me a document. This is your dad's will. The real one, filed with the state. The one Mr. Hendricks read was the public version, meant to throw Madison off. But this is the legal one. I read it, my hands shaking. Everything was mine. The house, the business, the land. And there was a clause at the bottom I had to read 3 times to believe. The $100,000 Madison received comes with a condition. She has to use it to care for Frank Morrison's estate property, specifically the maintenance and upkeep of the Oakwood Lane shed, for a period of no less than 20 years. Failure to do so results in the full amount being transferred to Emily Morrison, with penalties. He set her up. I breathed. He set her up, Dennis agreed. She has to spend that money maintaining a worthless shed, or she loses it all to you. And she doesn't even know about this place existing. As far as she knows, that shed is all there is. A laugh bubbled up from my chest. Then another. Then I was laughing so hard I couldn't stop, tears streaming down my face. Dad had given me everything and trapped Madison in the most perfect revenge I could imagine. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Just so you know, I'm selling Dad's old furniture and tools from the main house. Got a buyer coming tomorrow. Figured you wouldn't care since you got the shed, lol. I stared at the message, then at my house, my workshop, my future. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. Walking up the path toward us was a woman in a police uniform, her hand on her radio, and she was looking right at Dennis with an expression I couldn't read. Dennis Morrison, she called out. We need to talk. Now. Dennis stood up slowly, his face going pale. Emily, I can explain. Explain what? But my voice sounded far away. The officer came closer, and I saw her nameplate. Officer Rivera. She looked at me with something like pity. Ma'am, are you Emily Morrison? Yes. I need to ask you some questions about your father's death, and about the man standing next to you. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it might break through. Questions about what? My father died of cancer. What does Dennis have to do with anything? Officer Rivera's expression softened slightly, but her hand stayed near her radio. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from Mr. Morrison, please." "Wait!" Dennis held up his hands again, that same gesture from before, but this time his face had gone completely white. "Officer, I can explain everything. I have documentation." "Documentation of what?" I was backing away without meaning to, my legs moving on their own. "What's going on?" Rivera ignored Dennis and focused on me. "Miss Morrison, we received a call about 30 minutes ago from your sister, Madison. She claimed that a man named Dennis Morrison has been impersonating a contractor and may have defrauded your father before his death. She said she found canceled checks made out to him totaling over $60,000 and became suspicious." The world spun. $60,000. I looked at Dennis, at this man who'd just shown me a house, a workshop, a future.
Tell me she's wrong.
"It's not fraud," Dennis said quickly, desperately. "Emily, I swear to God, everything I showed you is real. Your father hired me legitimately. I have contracts, permits, everything."
Then why are the police here?
My voice was rising, hysteria creeping in. Why would Madison call them? Rivera pulled out a small notebook. "Because according to county records, there are no building permits filed for this address. No registered construction. And Mr. Morrison here has a record." A record. I felt sick. 10 years ago. Construction fraud.
I served 18 months.
Dennis's voice was barely a whisper. "But I'm clean now, Emily. I swear. Your father knew about my past. He gave me a second chance when nobody else would. Everything here is legitimate." "Legitimate but unpermitted," Rivera said. "Which is illegal. And expensive. You're looking at serious fines, Miss Morrison, possibly having to tear down structures built without proper authorization." I couldn't breathe. The house behind me, my beautiful house that Dad built, was illegal. Could be torn down. And Dennis, the man who was supposed to be making my father's dream come true, was a convicted criminal. "I want to see the contracts," I managed to say. "Right now." Dennis practically ran into the house. Rivera followed him, one hand still near her belt. I stood frozen on the porch, my phone clutched in my shaking hand. It buzzed. Another text from Madison. "Just heard the police are checking out your inheritance. Did you know your shed buddy is a criminal? Dad must have been really out of it at the end to trust someone like that. Don't worry, I'll help you sort out the legal mess. For a small fee, LOL." Rage, hot and pure, flooded through me. She'd done this. She'd found the checks, put together just enough information to cause trouble, and called the police. Not because she cared about protecting Dad's money. Because she wanted to hurt me. Dennis emerged with a thick folder. "Everything's here. Contracts signed by Frank, payment schedules, receipts for materials.
It's all real."
Rivera took the folder and started going through it. Her frown deepened with each page. "These contracts look legitimate. But Mr. Morrison, you were supposed to file for permits before beginning construction. That's basic contractor protocol. Why didn't you?"
"Because Frank asked me not to."
Dennis looked at me, his eyes pleading. "He said if we filed permits, it would become public record. Madison would find out. He wanted this kept secret until after his death, until Emily could claim it. He said he'd pay the fines later if necessary, that it was worth it to keep his daughter safe." "Safe from what?" Rivera asked.
"From her sister."
I heard myself say it out loud, the truth I'd been avoiding my whole life. Madison takes everything. She always has. Dad knew if she found out about this place, she'd find a way to take it or destroy it. So he kept it off the books. Rivera studied me for a long moment. "That's not how the law works, Miss Morrison."
"I know."
Tears were streaming down my face again. I know, but it's how our family works. It's how it's always worked. My phone rang. Madison. I almost didn't answer, but something made me hit the button. Emmy. Her voice was syrupy sweet, fake concern dripping from every word. I just heard from Officer Rivera. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Dad must have gotten confused at the end. Poor thing. Giving money to a criminal to build something illegal. But don't worry, I'm sure we can work something out. Maybe I can buy the land from you, save you from the legal headaches. And there it was. Her real plan. Get the property for cheap, probably bulldoze everything, flip it for profit. Something inside me snapped. No, I said quietly. What? I said no, Madison. You're not getting this property. You're not getting anything else from me. Emily, be reasonable. You're looking at massive fines, possible criminal charges for Dennis. Let me help you. Help me. I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to my own ears. Like you helped Dad during his 6 weeks dying in the hospital? Like you helped at his funeral? You don't help people, Madison. You use them. Don't you dare. I'm done. I hung up. Rivera was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Miss Morrison, I need to be honest with you. This situation is complicated. But I've been going through these contracts, and they're thorough. Very thorough. Your father documented everything. She pulled out one specific page and showed it to me. This is a letter, dated 2 months before your father's death. It's addressed to the county planning department, requesting a waiver for emergency construction permits based on medical hardship. He explains his terminal diagnosis and his wish to secure housing for his dependent daughter before his death. Did they approve it? I asked. It was never filed. But the fact that he wrote it, that he tried to do things correctly, that matters. It shows intent. Rivera looked at Dennis. Mr. Morrison, you should have filed this. Even if your client told you not to. I know, Dennis said quietly. I should have. I was trying to honor a dying man's wishes, but I should have protected Emily better. That's on me. Rivera sighed and closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. Miss Morrison, you're going to need to file for permits retroactively. It's going to cost you, probably a few thousand in fees and fines. You'll need inspections for all the work done. If everything's up to code, which it appears to be from what I've seen, you'll likely be approved. The county doesn't usually force demolition on quality construction if you're willing to make it legal. Hope flickered in my chest. Really? Really? But you need a lawyer. A good one. And you need to start the process immediately. She looked at Dennis. As for you, I should cite you for unpermitted construction. But given your client's written intent and your cooperation, I'm going to let it slide with a warning. Don't do this again. Never, Dennis said. I swear. Rivera handed me the folder. Your sister seemed very interested in seeing this property seized or condemned. Between you and me, that kind of vindictiveness doesn't sit well. File your permits, get your inspections, and make this legal. Don't give her anything to use against you. She left, walking back down the path toward where she must have parked. I stood there holding the folder, my whole body shaking with adrenaline and relief and leftover fear. I'm sorry, Dennis said. I should have pushed your dad harder about the permits. He was dying, Emily. He was so worried about you, and I wanted to give him peace. I made a bad call. You built me a house, I said softly. You kept my father's secret. You tried to give me what he wanted me to have, but almost lost it for you in the process. Almost isn't lost. I looked at the house, my house, standing strong and beautiful in the afternoon sun. We fix it. We file the permits, pay the fines, make it legal. And then it's mine. Really mine. Dennis nodded. I'll help however I can. No charge. It's the least I can do. My phone buzzed again. Madison, of course. But this time it wasn't a text. It was an email. The subject line read, "Legal notice regarding Oakwood property." I opened it with shaking hands. It was from Madison's lawyer, demanding I cease all construction, vacate the property immediately, and prepare for a legal challenge to Dad's will on grounds of mental incompetence during his final months. She was actually doing it. Trying to take this too. I forwarded the email to myself, then looked up Dennis. Do you know any good lawyers? Actually, yeah. My parole officer connected me with a guy who specializes in helping people with records rebuild their lives. He's sharp. Does estate and property law too. Call him. Now. I need to see him today. While Dennis made the call, I walked through my house one more time. Every room Dad had planned, every detail he'd included. A bookshelf in the living room already filled with my favorite books from childhood. A desk in the bedroom facing the window. A reading nook with the exact kind of chair I'd always wanted. He'd known me. Really known me. Every choice in this house proved it. In the kitchen, I found another envelope I'd missed before, tucked under a coffee mug that said, "World's Best Daughter." Inside was a key and a note, Safety Deposit Box 247, First National Bank. For emergencies. I love you, Emmy. Never forget you're worth more than you know. The next morning, I sat in a lawyer's office for the second time in a week. But this time, I wasn't the one getting ambushed. James Chen was exactly what Dennis had promised. Sharp, quick, and thoroughly unimpressed by Madison's legal threats. She has no case, he said after reviewing everything. Your father was of sound mind. Multiple doctors can attest to that. The will is legal. Her inheritance came with stipulations she agreed to by accepting it. And she has zero claim to this property, which was deeded separately years before his death. What about the unpermitted construction? We file today. I have contacts in the county office. We'll expedite it. You'll pay some fines, but nothing catastrophic. Maybe 3,000 total. He smiled. And here's the beautiful part. The property is actually zoned for commercial use. That workshop your dad built, you can run a business from it completely legally once we get the permits sorted. I felt something loosen in my chest. So she can't take it. She can't touch it. In fact, let me show you something interesting. He pulled up the will on his computer. This clause here, about Madison maintaining the shed property, your father was very specific. She has to spend a minimum of $5,000 per year on maintenance and upkeep of the Oakwood Lane shed. If she fails to do so, the full $103,000 reverts to you, plus penalties. $5,000 a year? For 20 years. I did the math. That's $100,000. She'll spend everything maintaining a worthless shed. Unless she walks away from the inheritance entirely. Which she can do. But then she gets nothing, and you get everything anyway. James leaned back in his chair. Your father was a genius. He gave her exactly what she values, money, and then made it worthless by tying it to responsibility. Something she's never been good at. I thought about Madison in her designer clothes, her perfect condo, her Instagram life. Could she really spend the next 20 years dumping money into maintaining a shed? Or would her pride force her to walk away? Either way, I won. There's one more thing, James said. The safety deposit box. Did you check it? Not yet. Let's go. Now. At the bank, the manager led me to the vault. Box 247 was small, plain, and when I opened it, I found 3 things inside. A stack of bonds. Savings bonds in my name, mature and ready to cash. I counted them twice. $50,000. A letter of recommendation, written by Dad to dozens of small businesses in the area, introducing me as a qualified bookkeeper starting my own practice and vouching for my integrity and skill. And a photograph. Me and Dad from when I was 7, standing in the backyard of our old house. I was holding the purple elephant, and he had his arm around me, both of us grinning at the camera. On the back, in his handwriting, "This is what matters. This is what lasts. Make me proud, Emmy." I stood in that bank vault and cried like a child while James politely pretended not to notice. 2 weeks later, I had my permits. The inspections came back clean. The house and workshop were officially legal, officially mine. Madison's lawyer had gone silent after James sent our response to her legal threats. According to Dennis, she'd hired a property inspector to assess the shed, probably trying to inflate maintenance costs to justify her inheritance spending. I hope she enjoyed explaining to that inspector why she was spending money on a rotting storage shed that was barely worth the land it sat on. I moved into my house on a Saturday. Dennis helped, along with 2 guys from his construction crew who owed him favors. We hauled my pitiful collection of furniture from my apartment, laughing at how empty it looked in these beautiful rooms. "You need stuff," Dennis observed, looking at my bare living room. "I need clients," I countered. "Furniture can wait." But that Monday, something happened I didn't expect. The letters Dad had written, the recommendations, they worked. 3 small businesses called me in one day. Then 5 more the next day. By the end of the week, I had 12 clients signed and a waiting list. Dad had built me more than a house. He'd built me a reputation before I even started. A month later, I was working late in the workshop when someone knocked on the door. I almost didn't answer, but something made me check the security camera Dennis had installed. Madison stood on my porch, and she looked terrible. Her hair was messy, her makeup smudged, and she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I'd never seen her in jeans. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "How did you find this place?" "I hired an investigator." She looked past me at the house, and her face crumpled. "He built this. For you."
"All of it?"
"Yes."
"While he was dying?"
"Yes." She was crying now, real tears, not the pretty ones from the funeral. "I didn't know."
"Emily, I swear, I didn't know about any of this." "Would it have mattered if you did?" That stopped her. She stood there on my porch, shaking. "I came to see the shed. The one I'm supposed to maintain. Do you know how much this is costing me? $5,000 a year for what? A building that's falling apart. You could walk away. "Give back the inheritance."
I can't." Her voice broke. "I already spent $40,000 of it. New car, renovating my condo, a vacation. I didn't think. I thought it was free money. I didn't read the fine print until my accountant pointed it out. So you're stuck maintaining a worthless shed for 20 years, watching your inheritance drain away on something that doesn't matter. Forced to care for something you don't value." I stepped closer to her. "Now you know how it feels."
"How what feels?"
"Being me. Our whole lives, Madison. You took everything. Every bit of attention, every opportunity, every moment of pride. You made me feel worthless, and I accepted it because I thought that's what I was." I gestured at the house behind me. But Dad saw different. He saw who we really were. And he gave us exactly what we deserved. Madison's face twisted. "This is revenge. You're happy I'm suffering." "I'm happy I'm free," I corrected. "Your suffering is your own doing. You could have visited him. You could have been there. You could have been a sister, a daughter, a human being. But you chose yourself. Every single time.
And Dad knew that. I loved him."
"No, you didn't. You loved what he could give you."
"There's a difference."
She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. When did you get so cold? I'm not cold, Madison. I'm finally warm. For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to do, and nobody can take that from me. Especially not you. I started to close the door. Wait, she said desperately. Can't we make a deal? Can't I just, I don't know, sign the property over to you? The shed? Then I wouldn't have to maintain it. The will doesn't work that way. James already checked. You accepted the terms. You're locked in. The only way out is to forfeit the entire inheritance and give it all back. Every penny. But I spent. Then you better start saving. 20 years is a long time, Madison. Plenty of time to learn what responsibility feels like. I closed the door on her shocked face and locked it. Through the window, I watched her walk back to her car, her shoulders shaking. Part of me felt bad. A small part. The part that remembered being 7 years old and wanting my big sister to like me. But mostly I felt free. 6 months later, my business was thriving. I'd hired an assistant and was considering expanding. The house felt like home in a way nowhere else ever had. Dennis had become a friend, stopping by weekly to check on things and share coffee. And Madison? She'd sent me one more text, 3 months ago. I hate you. I'd responded, you'll get over it. She never replied. On the anniversary of Dad's death, I drove to the cemetery alone. I brought purple flowers, his favorite, and sat by his headstone in the spring sunshine. You were right, I told him. I understand now. It was never about the money or the house or the business. It was about knowing my worth. About not letting anyone make me feel small ever again. The wind rustled through the trees, and I swear I felt him there with me. Madison's miserable, by the way. In case you were wondering. The shed costs her $5,000 a year to maintain, and she hates every second of it. She tried to get out of it, but James says she's legally bound. I smiled. It's the most beautiful revenge I've ever seen, and I didn't even have to do anything. You did it all. I traced his name on the headstone. Frank Morrison. Beloved father. I'm happy, Dad. Really happy. The business is good. The house is perfect. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. You gave me that. You gave me everything. I stood to leave but turned back one more time. Oh, and Dad. I still have the purple elephant. It's on my bed in my house, in my room that you built. Thank you for seeing me. For really seeing me. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed. A new client referral. My 15th this month. I drove home to my house, my business, my future. Everything Dad had built for me, piece by piece, while Madison chased money and I chased meaning. In the end, we both got exactly what we were looking for. And I wouldn't trade places with her for anything in the world. The shed still stands on Oakwood Lane, gray and weathered and worthless. Madison pays for its upkeep every year, trapped by her own greed in Dad's perfect trap. And behind it, hidden in the woods, my house stands strong. A monument to the kind of love that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind that builds quietly, hopes patiently, and gives without expecting anything in return. The kind of love that knows exactly what we're worth, even when we've forgotten it ourselves. That's what Dad gave me. Not a house. Not a business. Not revenge. He gave me myself back. And that's worth more than all of Madison's money could ever buy.